Hi, I'm Chef Rodney and we're here in the Sobeys Loft and we're going to talk about knife cutting today. And one of the first things we want to talk about with knife cuts, or vegetable cutting if you will, is knives. Very important that you have a good knife. I will highly recommend that you don't buy every cheap set of knives you see advertised out because, oh wow, that looks really cool and really sharp and it's really cheap. So just to go through them really quick, and I'll just take this little sheath off of this one so you can kind of see. The first knife that I'd like to just tell you about is the chef's knife. The chef's knife is this knife here. An equivalent, just slightly different style knife is called the santoku. And that is basically a Japanese style chef's knife. These knives are the most versatile. I can just about do every different kind of cutting that I want to do in the kitchen with that knife, or either really of these knives. So I would suggest you have a chef's knife. The chef's knife comes in anywhere from really 6 inches up to 10 inches and even more. I don't recommend anything bigger. I like to have these two different ones. So you don't at home have to have two different ones. I would suggest one probably around 8 inches. I think that is a very handleable, very good knife. I like my longer ones simply for the amount of work I sometimes do at a time, because you can see by this blade, the way it's shaped, the way it is made to rock on the cutting board. And I can move my hand less and have a lot more going on with the longer knife. So when I'm doing a lot of work, I use this knife, as opposed to, for example, a shorter knife, I have to move a lot more to rock onto my cuts. So in any case, that's why I choose to have a 10-inch knife, but certainly an 8-inch knife I would highly recommend for home. So that's the chef's knife. Another knife that I think is very good, so if I had to have one knife, it would be the chef's knife. If I could only have two good knives, I would have a chef's knife and I would have a paring knife. Okay, this little guy's a paring knife. The uses of it include peeling vegetables, cutting small things like mushrooms, stuff like that. And for me, if I have these two knives, again, I can pretty much do everything. Third knife now, if I could just expand a little bit, is called a boning knife. Also a fillet knife, you could call it, but we call this a boning knife. A fillet knife sometimes is even a little thinner, a little longer, but this knife can be used for fabricating proteins like chicken. If you wanted to take chicken breasts off the bone, and hopefully we'll plan a segment where we can actually show you how to take a whole chicken and separate it into its parts, because you save a lot of money doing that for yourself rather than paying your grocery store, your butcher to do it. But anything where your knife is going to be in the air, we tend to use this knife. Also, it's flexible. The blade is very flexible, which means I can lay it down and I can skin things and stuff like that with it. So we'll show you, we're not going to concentrate on this knife today, but in another video, we'll try to talk more about how you use this knife. And then for me, another important knife, if I could expand to literally 4 knives, and I'm telling you, you pretty much only need 4 knives. All together, all done, is a serrated knife. So you can see how this looks like a saw. My serrated knife happens to be what they call offset, which means my knuckles don't touch the ground. But for this type of knife also, they're often not. They're often just straight, and they can just cut right through bread. And anything that's really delicate and crumbly, this knife helps you get through it without tearing it up, or smushing it more importantly. So if this knife is super sharp, I can do some bread cutting and things with it. But if it's even dull at all, I might smush my bread if I were to use this knife. So that's why you want to definitely have a serrated knife. Okay, now, not only is it important to have the right knives, it's important to keep them sharp, okay? You're more likely to get cut from a dull knife by far than you are a sharp knife, because a sharp knife will dig right into the thing you're cutting, whereas a dull knife might sit there and move, and when it moves, it might get you. So we don't want that. So a sharp knife, okay? There's a lot of sharpeners on the market. We won't go into sharpening itself right now, but a lot of you have this. It's called a honing steel, okay? The honing steel is really important, and if I am cutting a lot of anything, I always have this by my side. I will keep it near my knives. okay? And how you use it basically is you take your knife, and your knife has an edge on it that you can really see. I don't know if you can get in there good. And it's just beveled just right, okay? And mine, I keep them beveled on both sides. Often this knife might be only beveled on one side, more Japanese style. I like mine Western style, mainly because that's what I'm used to. Now, to hone it, which you should do often, you need to take your knife and with the same angle as your bevel in your knife, you want to just run it down. Now this won't really sharpen the knife, but this will take a knife that kind of the edge gets a little bit out of line and we'll put it back in line, okay? I'm very used to doing this. My knife, I almost can't will myself to do it wrong because my muscle memory from doing this for so many years is so much. So if you see me pick up a knife and I go like this, and I'm just talking, I'm going like this, don't do that. That's not gonna be good for your knife unless you've been doing this a lot and you're hitting it exactly right. And as I was progressing through my career, I often found I just dulled my knife. I just took it and I thought I was sharpening, I dulled it. So I wanna show you another quick way, and this is a very good way to do this. Take your steel, put it down on your cutting board like this. Now hold your knife and you can see the angle you're doing. And try to hit that angle right and just go from top to bottom and then do it the other way. And it doesn't matter how fast. So don't try to go fast. Try to be exact. Because when you're exact, you sharpen your knife. All right? As you get comfortable with this, you may want to then try, and this is here to protect your hand, but I've seen lots of guys go past it, and a lot of people run into it. And you run into it, you're also dulling your knife. So just same thing, and you just get used to what your angle should be. I can hear when I'm hitting it right and when I'm not. So, all right, that is knives, and that is how to hone the knife. Very important for me is always a peeler. I love these horizontal peelers. I think they do great. I can peel as fast as anyone probably on the planet because in one fell swoop, instead of with the old style where you slap, 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 and then slap, 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 I can literally take and in one peel. And of course, I can do this extremely fast because of muscle memory. You don't have to go fast, you'll go faster and faster as you do it. But that's just to show you, a peeler is really important. I pretty much peel my vegetables before I use them. More than any reason, for taste. So, okay, that is the knives. I'll talk 1 second about cutting boards before we start getting into actually cuts. Cutting boards can be hardwood like maple or oak, or they can be bamboo, which is a lot less expensive and actually holds up better with less care. So you can go either direction, but I've had this one a really long time. You also can use some of the plastic boards. And for example, I have this big one, which is one of the ones we actually use here in the restaurant. This is a plastic that's hard enough not to get deep cuts in it very easily, but it's soft enough that it doesn't dull your blade. If you're using a very hard plastic, you're gonna be dulling your blade. So, okay, just to show you those things. I'm gonna clean up a little bit. When we come back, I'm gonna start to show you some vegetable cuts. All right, thank you.